My name is Rajneesh Singh. Been now corporate about 22 years of experience, worked with interesting companies like iSure, then Gillette, then Network 18. And after about 2 decades, decided to do something of our own. So three of my colleagues and me, four of us, we founded SimplyHR Solutions, which is like we started off as a HR outsource firm for startups and for SMEs. But gradually we kept adding different verticals, and so we are today in the 12th year. We are almost a end-to-end HR boutique firm. So yes, I mean one did take a break from corporate, but then the journey has continued. It's not that we've kind of hung up our boots, not at all. When I got a little sense of financial planning and future and how things are going to be was when I probably first lost my job when the organization I was there that got shut down, and this was the Duracell batteries plant here in Manesar near Gurgaon.
Okay.
And this was way back in 2002, so 20 years back. So when Samaya reached out, so I thought there's an interesting story to definitely share and how life has been since then.
No, yeah, I read your story for sure. I
Mm.
read the article as well.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was, I think 5 years, 6 years back, 2015 or something.
Correct,
Uh,
correct,
so I
correct.
asked Sumaya reached out to you, see what has
Mm,
changed, because
mm.
what
Yes,
has changed is obviously you might be much closer to the goal part of it. So what has changed, and also let's talk if we can find
yeah,
you
yeah.
and talk to you about it.
Sure.
So very interesting to read the article. One point which I remember was that you said your parents were in government jobs, right? So
Mm, mm,
they had
mm.
pension.
Correct.
My nanu is also in a government, used to be in
Mm,
government job, so forest
mm,
officer there. So
mm.
he had pension. Now he has pension as well.
As well. Yeah.
दादाजी की नहीं थी pension. He was
Mm,
अपना उनका खुद का
mm.
था. But I can
Correct.
visibly see the difference between the people who had used to had pension, like the lifestyle,
Oh, absolutely,
and the
absolutely.
people who don't. Even though they have wealth, uh,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have accumulated part of it, but the recurring thing that comes in and then keeps adjusting
Correct,
the whole way.
correct,
Uh,
correct.
so वो मेरे को बहुत जल्दी कनेक्ट हो गया था जब आपने बताया कि
Yeah,
ये तो ये
yeah,
वाला पार्ट, बट
yeah.
इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो कि हमें कब होगा, मतलब फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे
Mm,
हमारा नहीं होता है,
mm.
तो देयर इज अ ट्रिगर
Correct.
पॉइंट व्हेन यू सेड कि
Absolutely.
जॉब वाला पार्ट इज अ ट्रिगर,
Mm,
राइट?
mm,
इट हैपेंस
mm.
समवेयर, like once you realize it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There was one point where I figured it out saying that yeah, my problem might be like my parents looking at me as a
Mm,
retirement plan,
mm.
which is very
Correct.
common. I think about 77% of the people in India, the traditional retirement planning वैसे ही काम.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. My father was into public sector all his life, and my wife's parents have been in. So father-in-law was a SBI retired, and mother-in-law retired from central government school. She was a principal here in Delhi. My mother, of course, was a housewife. So those are the little kind of corrections. But yes, like you correctly mentioned, I see my mother-in-law still getting the pension, and so life is comfortable. She's still on her own, touch wood, and it's her 83rd birthday today. So it's a good day to also connect with you today. Very interesting. So, like you correctly mentioned, we are from a very different generation, and I think for a lot of us, a job loss definitely is a wake up call. Probably people don't really realize the importance of the future that you have ahead of yourself. So and that no more are kind of a regular income going to come after a certain age, right? So the whole plan around savings for a rainy day becomes very very critical for folks like us, who've not been in a government job or a public sector job or whatever. So I think it is very very important that folks realize that you need to definitely plan, and that is what struck us 20 years back when the job loss happened, and for the first time we met financial planners in our life. By that time, I would have spent probably, I was so 88 to 2000. So about 12 years one had worked already. I think the clear thing was that you need to be ready for a situation, and I think with the kind of uncertainty building up today around jobs and future generally, I think what you guys have started definitely will hold a lot of promise. And I'm sure, like you said, I mean, in a year's time, so much has happened for you guys. And so which clearly reflects that there is a dire need of something like this. So from a timing standpoint, I think it's a very good kind of a concept that you guys have brought in. And then I'm sure a lot of people will benefit out of it.
That's the whole idea. But thank you so much. I read
Sure.
about your retirement plan. The Dehradun.
Hmm.
My college was there in Dehradun, so I know the
Okay.
I was graduated from UP
That's
there.
nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
So I try connecting with the article and I saw a couple of things. So
Correct.
Dehradun is a very nice city. My professors
Absolutely.
were there. They retired there. Uh,
Wow.
yeah. So tell me about how did you struck that plan of Dehradun?
Yeah. So
Your
that was also, yeah. So it was very interesting, and it kind of coincided with the job loss. And so this was about 2001, 2002 only. And the job loss till then, if I recall, hadn't really happened. And it was sheer coincidence that we were in Dehradun on a typical trip, from Delhi, driven down for a
yeah.
weekend kind of a thing. And then we kind of see this whole thing about unsung kind of having a housing thing coming up and plots on sale and stuff like that. And so we just went and met and we figured out, look, yeah, this is an amazing place. I'm basically from a place called Ranchi. I found so much of similarity between Ranchi and Dehradun. I said, yeah, look, this is like going back home. My wife is from Delhi. I am from Ranchi. So we have nothing to do with Dehradun.
Yeah.
And yet we fell in love with the place and we thought we must have something here and we must, pack up everything, 2 suitcases, and we must just land up here and spend our old age here. So yeah, so that time we picked up the plot. We then built a little kind of a cottage for ourselves. We thought we just wanted to keep things very simple. It's a very small kind of a very interesting cottage, and we keep going there. Right now it's on Airbnb, so
Oh,
guests are enjoying it.
oh,
So
nice.
we are kind of less enjoying it, but that's how one of our goal is that, yes, once upon a time, whenever we decide that, yes, let's head to Dehradun. And so we did figure out that if we have to really retire in so many ways, absolutely stop doing anything, Dehradun will be the place. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I think absolutely I love the idea of Dehradun being that place.
Mm, mm,
I think there are four things that usually defines a retirement. One is the place for
mm.
sure,
Correct.
which tells you that expenses might vary. So if
Yes.
I live in a
Yes.
city where the expenses are high and I want to retire in a
Absolutely.
city where expenses
Absolutely.
are different,
Right.
it's one place where we personalize it. So that's one thing that I have taken care in PensionBox, where we help you imagine something.
Yes.
Once you
Yes.
imagine your retirement, say, let's say 10
Yeah.
years, 15 years down the line,
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
the time frame is one, the place
Yeah.
is one, where I read
Yeah.
about it, Dehradun was the place. The kind of lifestyle people usually prefer. Like, so
Yes.
as you said,
Yes.
simple lifestyle. Like if people might go minimalistic, they same as
Absolutely. Absolutely.
was
Absolutely.
another part where we thought it can be personalized.
Yeah.
I got your article memo tha. Okay,
Hmm.
will be simple terms वाले part में.
Correct.
Second
Correct.
thing would be when you realized 2022 के
Hmm.
बाद, how did you go about it? So when you met financial planners, you start saving, मतलब कहाँ अपने पैसे
Yeah.
yes, how did
So what happened then was very interesting questions were asked because we were getting a very decent so-called handshake money because the shutdown was happening.
yeah.
And so obviously we thought if so much of money is coming into the hands of the employees, and because I was the HR head there, so we thought of how do we really ensure that people just don't blow away their money. And large majority was a very young workforce. It was like, but for quite many, it was the first job. And so for them, of course, it was a far, far bigger story for them suddenly getting rattled. But then the advantage was they were young and they were still employable. But for people like us, we were also still, I mean, like 10, 12 years is not a big deal. The market is still there for a job, etc., etc. But definitely we were asked for, certain questions about our lifestyle. Where do we spend our money? How much are we saving on a monthly basis? What are your plans in future? If you were to have a child, what all would you like to? So around that time is when we were also expecting our son. And so we just have one son. Sab kuch, saath mein hua. And that is such an interesting thing. So naturally, when our financial planner, who is a great friend now, and he's like a family member since then, we told him, look, at the most, we just want to ensure that he gets the best education, period, right? Because we come from service families, so we have always believed that, education is the thing you need to invest, and that's the future, right? All of us, I mean, like you also talked about the same thing, and we've all come with that kind of a lineage. And also we just told him, look, we will manage, and we know what things need to be stopped, we'll stop. I mean, we love movies, we love traveling, great food, restaurants, everything. I mean, me and my wife, we're like, we need to enjoy life. It's not, not a, not a sad, boring couple here, सब कुछ दुख है and सब कुछ गड़बड़ है and all that. So we are on the contrary, we believe that life has to be lived to the full, And so naturally, some of the lifestyle, we were also very clear. We told the planners also that some elements of it we would like to retain, right? We can't also just go completely, इसको भी बंद कर दिया, वो भी बंद कर दिया, ये भी बंद कर दिया. But definitely during that period when the job loss happened, for sure we started definitely looking at the income and started earmarking a certain amount of money towards savings, right? Till that time, the LICs of the world would have happened in my life. वो कोई ना कोई कंपनी में कोई एजेंट मिल गया, आकर के पूरा सेल कर दिया आइडिया, and you just happily signed off and हाँ यार, LIC sounds very good, ये जिंदगी भर का and all that, whatever, right? So I had some 4-5 policies, and also when I met this planner, he asked, so where have you invested? I said, I just have LIC, nothing else, So he said, no, we need to chalk out a different plan for you. I think over these now 20 years, he's helped us. So a lot of stuff goes into equity, mutual funds. Those are obviously the two things that he keeps investing in. For us, between the two of us, so wife is again a freelancer. Okay. She's been 20 years on her own. So she does, again, a HR person, but does a lot of work around diversity and inclusion. Okay. A lot of work on prevention of sexual harassment at workplace, etc., etc. So she's a one-man army, while we run a firm and we have about 25, 26 people, and doing HR for a variety of companies, So, but going back, it was very clear, son's education was number one. Number two was that we need to definitely, whenever we really hang up our boats, there is a certain level of lifestyle is what we would like to continue to maintain. So those were the two things that we really shared with them.
Perfect. I think makes sense. I think diversification was one thing which will help you grow and manage the part. So most of the financial planners do the same bit, right? The wealth management planning is the same part where it comes.
Absolutely.
But trust is another factor. So trust factor is very important there.
Oh, very, very, very critical. And look, for the first time we had met this person, Mr. Surya Bhatia. He runs this firm called Asset Managers. So when we started our own firm 12 years back, he was the first go-to person that I'm leaving a job now. I'm taking the plunge. And so naturally, I was at the peak of my career, and I could have just continued with a lot of salaries and whatever benefits, perks and all, but I just decided enough and let's do something of our own. So naturally, he again got us back on the drawing board and again figured out what all are there, how much are you spending, etc., etc. Naturally, we cut down our lifestyle again big time in the first 2 years when we were running it. But so he's today, so he was the first go-to person when I also decided to be on my own, and till date, I mean, he's like I said earlier, he's like a family to us.
Yeah.
And every little financial decision we have to call Surya. So it's about that. We just don't do anything without his consent. So he's like you said. I mean, the trust has only grown in the space that you are. Trust is such an important factor. It's very important.
Totally. I think that was one thing which we kicked in. हमें पता चल गया था ये चीज main.
Yeah.
We thought about it in the era of data, where your data can tell you so much and the product has a data. Can we build a model which your data advises you better? So there's always a human interaction, but if there's a reasoning towards it, so people would like to have some reasoning. If I'm saying something to you, why would I suggest that? So data was something which we picked in, saying that initial stage, mein, let's back up.
Yeah.
If I'm recommending something, is there a backup to it? Same thing other planners also do. So they tell you something, they tell you, first, these are the 4 points which I believe are the good things for you. So we are building this for scale. So imagine, your financial planner being at scale. So
Yeah.
you will get that, but at least data can help you achieve that. So
Absolutely.
one question, because this is not related to definitely much. It's more related to entrepreneur part, because you moved from the job to a startup, right? It's your startup. So it was when you did it was startup was not the hype word. Today,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Today it is. Absolutely.
So I'm in a similar journey, just a couple of years
Correct.
behind.
Correct.
What's one thing that you felt when you left the job and then started a career? What's one thing that you'll like to tell me or share on that?
So I think one has to be very realistic about this journey. You can't be just following it just for the sake of following it. I think it's very, very important that you figure out very clearly upfront what you are getting into, and it's not an easy task at all compared to a job.
Yeah.
This is far, far more requires far higher degree of commitment and hard work and what have you. And especially knowing that there's no guaranteed money going to come at the end of the month. Right? So that is if those are the things that really kick you up and you feel that okay, I'm cut out for all this. I can take the risk and I have that conviction in the idea that I'm following. I think those are the things that really matter a lot when one is getting into the entrepreneurship side of the thing. And naturally, so we did a lot of homework before we really announced to the world we are there.
Yeah.
So meeting some successful entrepreneurs, seeking advice from them, seeking advice on the business model, seeking advice on the market opportunity, stuff like that. So I think so that's very, very critical. And I tell every youngster who's getting into the space that is your homework pakka or not. Don't assume एक अपने आइडिया से इतना मोहब्बत मत करने लगो कि पता चला कि आप रियलिटी का बहुत दूर चले. So and that is a tendency. A lot of entrepreneurs, they fall so much in love with their idea that many aspects are really kind of forgotten. And so I think that is where so that's what I would suggest. Yeah.
I think that's a very important part. When we started, we had a mentor and he used to say, fall in love with the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, कुछ और तरीका तो नहीं है. तो we were lucky enough to have the wisdom early on. Instead of focusing on the solution कि नहीं ऐप ही बनाना है क्या
यही बात
तो solve क्या करना है तो problem. Next question that I had in bucket was, how do you think, like, how much important is savings? What important saving hold in someone's life?
So look, very interesting question, and I have seen so many families crack up when the pandemic hit. That itself has been such a massive wake-up call for families who were completely not into a saving mode or having invested in, say, for a insurance cover for your family, and suddenly if something to that effect happens around your health, and then you don't know where to get that all treatment monies around. So I think the importance of savings has gone multifold after the pandemic. People have realized the importance of it. At the same time, of course, I also hear a lot of people saying like "marna to hai," So ek to wo, that is the other side of the story. Live it full, and kya pata kal ka, whether it happens, you're there, not there. So even the death thing has come to people like that's bound to happen, and so what, and why to save and all. But I think on the contrary, I think one should be definitely parking out certain amount of money every month, and especially if you're in a private sector job, that becomes all the more essential. The government people, like you correctly mentioned at the beginning, they have that little cushion of the pension. But then we also know how the government jobs are kind of drying up, how the PSUs are getting privatized. The whole aspect of pension will also undergo a change over a period of time. That itself will get disrupted as to how much can the government really carry on. I think savings will play a very, very big role, and which means that whether you're a single income or you're a double income, a certain percent one should be parking for a rainy day. So, I had the other interesting situation with me was that exactly a year back, I got diagnosed with cancer, right? And that came out of the blue. And so while this pandemic was happening, I never, touch wood, none of us got a COVID, but this struck. And so the only thing good was that Surya would have, I think the moment we took the plunge, he told me that Rajneesh, so while your SimplyHR will provide the medical insurance cover to the employees and to you guys, but you have a personal cover because from an age standpoint, you are the senior most in the organization. So we asked him, so how much do you suggest? So X amount का तो रखो ही, Y amount आप company कर रही है आपकी. So that we did about 8-9 years back, and then when this happened, and when I was into for surgery and then chemotherapy and all that, now that entire insurance, the personal insurance cover really took care of the entire thing, right? And so for which now I keep telling a lot of my friends and whoever, that it's so very important that you invest in such things so that you are taken care of, and you don't have to really beg, borrow, and go around asking friends, family कि यार मेरा तो ये हाल हो गया, मैं hospital में पड़ा हुआ हूँ and दवाई नहीं ले पा रहा हूँ. Those, and we have heard so many such stories during the pandemic. Coming back, I think savings is definitely something people need to develop as a habit pretty much early on in their career, in their life. The sooner you do it, and not really compromising on living a good life, that should continue. I mean, you shouldn't be also just bottling yourself up, ye bhi band, wo bhi band, ye bhi band. I think if you can still manage smartly in spending on things that you love and yet take out some money on a monthly basis, I think that's a great thing to do. Yeah.
That will balance it out for sure.
Absolutely.
It's one thing which we when we start writing content, right? We wrote a line saying live today and let us help you focus on the future. So then
absolutely.
One question about the plan that you had, the Dehradun wala plan. वो कैसा जा रहा है अभी आपका, मतलब how do you think?
Yes, when we had bought that place, so we were very frequent visitors. We would every second, third weekend, we'd just pick the gadi and just drive down and have a very nice time there. And we had kept it very, very simple. No TVs and no fridge and nothing, just simple fan. And typical those days, 20 years back, Dehradun was a very different world altogether. Today it has gone completely berserk, and too much of construction, and the place has changed. And you need an air conditioner now, so there are ACs now in our rooms there. But I think we definitely like at that time the pace of the city, and we still believe there are certain elements of Dehradun which are very, very and it's a very different kind of a city with access to such lovely places around, where you can just either trek, you can drive down, probably we might just have a two-wheeler to ourselves and just two of us driving up in the hills. Who knows? So I think Dehradun definitely we are really looking forward to, and between my wife and me, we keep discussing, when is the day? And so when the article in the ET came out, there was a time when we were very clear that, okay, enough of this 9 to 5 grind and all that stuff. Enough of it. Let's have that freedom. Let's have that flexibility. You take a call what you need to do when, rather than being, forced upon. And so today, both of us are in that situation. And, about 6 years back, then we decided that, okay, before we really get old, how about doing international trips? So we started parking out money for that. And our son was by then into the mid-teens, and so we thought he needs exposure, so let's travel abroad. Why are we just, parking so much money here and there? And so why not just spend? So for 4 years, every back-to-back, we did very international, lot of international travel, and also to give good exposure to our son. And then, of course, the pandemic happened. So I think for us, Dehradun is very much on the agenda, and we want to be there. And of course, in between, Airbnb happened, and so we were happy to kind of sign up with them. And so whoever goes there, the kind of reviews they write, so my wife is full time into it, and she's a terrific host. So everybody gives fantastic reviews for her, and so she's one happy kind of host out there. And so yeah, I mean, we will at a point of time we will definitely be there, and we're just creating that whole infrastructure there.
I think that's very important, because I said one of the times when we were talking, discussing about the problem part. So getting ready is more important. You take a call when you want to do it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You should have the things in place, but it doesn't mean you have to do it. Right?
Absolutely. Very true.
You like what you do, but there has to be things in place. Keep it that way, and then keep.
There'll be surprises. There could be surprises which might just derail your entire plan, which might derail. Who knows? Yeah.
Exactly.
Very
So I think getting ready is one thing that you have got sorted.
correct.
There was one thing which I also say the same bit, like I would like to spend on a higher side. So people
Yeah.
to live life on a higher side, that's a part which like, I would not spend on the lower side. I'll spend on a higher side.
That's right. Great. No, and you won't believe it. These days, even when the cinema halls have opened up now, and
Yeah.
we've again started going back to the cinema halls, I keep telling my wife, look, this is like, a new era now, and we need to really watch movies in a probably a higher class, which is like a gold class, or go and watch because you never know how long the life is around you. So
Yeah.
we felt, why should we watch in a normal so-called class and इतना का ticket नहीं इतने के ticket लेते हैं so ये छोटी चीज, but you are thinking कि look, why not enjoy those comforts also, and while the life is still around you, so I think those are little things that we have realized, and I think given my illness also, probably all the more reason we decided that we need to be really not, of course, being absolutely like when my medical insurance renewal came up this time, I signed up for 2 years because of whatever little benefit was there, but
Yeah.
back of the mind was the whole thing that if something has happened, at least for 2 years the entire family, all three of us, are really covered, and we don't have to really worry about it.
Excellent. I think I totally agree there. I think so. One thing, and then live life on a higher side. I
And
think
live life on the higher side. Absolutely. You must enjoy the life. That's so important. So important. Yeah.
when I read the article, I think let's get the update.
Sure.
2015 के बाद कैसा हुआ?
Yeah, क्या हुआ? हाँ,
How
correct.
कैसा जा रहा है and how things are there. One more question I had. So it's more about fintech, right? मतलब we are
Yes, you are a fintech. Yeah.
B2C was the go-to market for most of the fintechs. Like everyone just go out there and start getting people. Because you're focusing on pension planning and retirement planning and making sure that planning is right. And just particular that segment, we figured it out that B2B2C is one thing which we looked at.
Yes.
So we started talking to HR heads of the company.
Yes.
Boss, every month you have PF deductions. Your employees knows on your pay that ये employee deduct हुआ है. इसके अलावा
बिल्कुल.
नहीं दिखता है. Apart from the EPFO portal and stuff.
Yes.
There's once a year there'll be a fund manager come to your company and he'll give you a lecture on financial planning. We take a paper out. Most of us like we take a paper out, हम उस पर कुछ लिख लेते हैं एक दफा and then forgot about that paper. So we president के pension, that platform that we created for your individuals that we created, can actually work for every employee through the employer. That becomes that a benefit for you, so that your employee gets better ready. B2B2C is something which you look at, and keeping the low cost of the product, because fintech में पैसा कोई नहीं बना सकता है. बहुत ही thin margins होते हैं.
बहुत ही thin margin है.
बहुत ही low scale पे like नहीं बना पाओगे. You have to go scale higher at a low cost.
At a low cost.
B2B2C was one thing which. What are your thoughts? It sounds like interesting.
No, I think, yeah, so keep a blend of both. My suggestion would be, rather than just going one path, B2B definitely will open up, and it will give you a kind of a retainer structured kind of a long-term thing, going, a relationship going there. As much, I think, on the B2C also, no harm. I think it's always better to reach out to the masses and be available there, irrespective whether there is a corporate in between or not.
Yeah.
So I think having a nice blend of both will be a great business model, and I'm sure you're thinking on those lines only. So that's the way to take things forward. And honestly, as Indians, as much as we are definitely known as people who save a lot, right? But the whole concept of future is not. I mean, for now, the saving is more to do with the shadi and education, right? But what you guys are focusing on is the whole thing about post-retirement and forward planning and things like that. How do you really settle down finally? I think those are the aspects not many people really think of. हमारे यहाँ अभी भी वो कॉन्सेप्ट चल रहा है, डॉरी के लिए पैसा बचाओ. लड़की है अगर लड़की है तो डॉरी की तरफ पैसा, लड़का है तो अच्छा उसको अच्छा पढ़ाई करना है तो उसका पढ़ाई के लिए करो. So for the girl the dowry, and for the son the education thing is still a little thing that hangs on our head, and that needs to definitely somewhere change. So, and I think the more folks like you come in, that will bring in more, I think, knowledge, and that's important. A lot of education awareness needs to happen.
Yes.
And so that's where you guys will need to play a big role on, creating and getting those folks on to think future. That's very important.
Yes. Yeah, I think we took the same approach. So
Yeah.
go-to market remains the B2B2C. Like we like to HR, roll it out to them, and then if they like the product, they like it,
Yeah.
they refer
Yeah.
their friends from that company. So
Yeah.
the B2C grows more referral kind of a part.
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
we spread the word kind of a part, like saying that we need awareness, we need, on these particular things, and B2B2C can actually enable it for us.
Bilkul.
I think it's a social part. So that's one thing that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can discuss with you, because being there in that industry, this might ring a bell.
Yeah.
Approach can work.
No, and so that's where probably you feel as a HR person, having my own network in the HR community, having been an entrepreneur now, having worked with so many startups and SMEs, so those are the other databases that we have typically is where one can really pitch you guys so that the word spreads. That's important.
Definitely.
And I am a fairly active person on LinkedIn, so there are a lot of things I keep writing on LinkedIn. From a professional standpoint, from a business standpoint, it makes so much sense to be visible out there.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
and I'm sure you guys are doing plenty of that.
Yeah, we have, like, I personally started writing. I wrote my first article because when I started, I thought, let me just share why I started.
Yes, you
And
must do that.
every week, and so we got like a lot of response. I shared my book, which I created, and then got the funding and all the learning that we usually get. So we started sharing that over LinkedIn, and that's a good tool to have. Like, people are
Absolutely.
learn a lot and then just share a lot again.
Absolutely.
And again, for our market or our go-to market, LinkedIn is a great place. Or the
It's a great place. Yeah.
employers are there. It's one place where we actually genuinely share things. Which are perfect. So that's a couple of questions that I had. Last question which I had from Sumaya, which she said, one piece of advice you want to give to the next generation about savings and retirement. So if we crux it or conclude it, what would be that one piece?
Yeah. So our son is about 20 years old now, and this is a very obvious conversation that happens at home. And so he's all the more, kind of worried that where is the world headed and things like that. So, this generation is definitely caught up in a bit of a uncertainty trap, and we don't know how long we are going to be there and what's going to happen, etc., etc. So I think very clearly, given that kind of a context, the message is very clear that yes, you need to be parking out whatever your earning could be. That's very important. Otherwise, I think, like we discussed, must enjoy life also, not at the cost of shutting off everything. But be mindful on what you're spending, how much you're spending. So I think the pandemic very clearly shared what is essential and what is a luxury. So I think if we can figure out what is essential and we spend time, money and stuff on that, and if we can live around that, then we are good. But excess is something that this generation needs to be mindful of. Are we spending on something overboard? And so we just need to be slightly cautious on that. That's about it. I think those are the few words I would share with them.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice. I think that's me for as well. So that's pretty much all the questions that I had on the board.
Sure.
It was so lovely to meet you. मुझे लगा नहीं मैं पहली बार आपसे मिलके बात कर रहा हूँ.
नहीं बहुत अच्छा लगा. Same here, यार. Absolute pleasure. Yeah.
I felt it like कि हाँ मैंने मतलब आपकी कहानी पढ़ी थी. Like I knew कि अच्छा देहरादून में retirement and XYZ and whole part.
Correct.
Great talking to you.
Yeah.
I'll definitely
Pleasure.
Talk to you and also send you a request.
Yeah. 100%.
It's great to learn from you. I think it's I'm very excited to how things go. And
sure.
Sharing things with you as we move forward.
No, let's keep in touch, and I wish you guys, the team at PensionBox, all success.
Good weekend. Bye bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.